Hi, my name is Mai Chang Vang, and my presentation is called Sex Terrorism. Sex terrorism is also known as sex slavery or human trafficking. The differences between sex trafficking and human trafficking is that sex trafficking is defined as a system by which males frighten, thereby controlling and dominating females. Human trafficking is defined as a modern-day form of slavery. The common factors between sex terrorism and human trafficking is that both are global issues against human rights. Sexual violence is a way to break communities and control population. A tactic of war and terrorism. Victims of trafficking does not give consent or has been forced to consent. Victims are vulnerable. Personal gain, such as for pleasure and profits or political reasons. And other common factors are poverty, war, natural disasters, or in search for a better life. The victims they come from a variety of backgrounds such as ethnicity, culture, age, gender, religion, socioeconomic status, education, citizenship status. What causes human trafficking can vary from one country to another. The statistics, according to DOJ, in 2018, there were 10,949 cases reported. Just in California alone, there were 1,656 cases reported. Of the 1,656 cases, there were 1,226 sex trafficking, 151 were labor trafficking, 110 cases were involved in both labor and sex trafficking, 169 cases were not clarified. Federal reported an estimated of 14,500 to 17,500 victims are trafficked into the United States annually. This number is without the reported cases within the United States. So imagine the cases that are not reported. It's much higher than the cases that are reported. Terrorist goals. When we hear the word terrorism, we would think of terrorism tactics are hijacking, hostage taking, explosions, and property destructions. However, sex terrorism is rarely used or heard of. In print media such as newspaper and magazine, broadcast media such as TV and radio, outdoor or out-of-home media such as films, movies, television, promotion video, commercial, and also the internet, social media, messaging, digital community, and video sharing websites. Sex terrorism's goals is to instill fear to as many people as they can and to quickly as they can, due to the individual or group, personal or political reason for attacks. They believe that violence or threat would make a change. The first example is ISIS using sex slavery as a tactic of terrorism. The target were young girls and women from Iraq, and they were captured, raped, and sold. Official office managing and marketing women, online bidder, and public auctioning. Another example was Haram and Al. They kidnapped children and they used children to carry out suicide bombings. Women and young girls were captured for profit. Here is a video called Rapist Terrorism in Egypt.
Egypt is becoming synonymous with sexual harassment and rape. Critics say it is far down the official priority list, although vigilante groups are trying to improve safety for women in public places. Egyptian human rights groups say verbal and physical violence against women there is endemic. Organized campaigns to fight this are building support as courageous women and some men condemn the phenomenon. This woman describes a public setting where a man seated next to her first leaned against her, making her uncomfortable, and then when she shifted to reduce contact, he began moving his hand all over her body. She says, "My only thought was to attack him, but unfortunately, we are used to this. I cannot walk in a street without being touched by someone. It has become common, even though it is such a disgusting thing. What can I do?" The main spokesman of Egypt's National Council for Human Rights recently said that women should not join street protests because their presence incites abuses. The country's main women's group denounced his statement as further evidence that women's rights are being violated. An activist tells us this violation is not a new thing. It hasn't only been going on for the past 2 weeks. The cases of rape have continued since the 18 days of the revolution. We've seen many women attacked, men's hands testing their virginity. There were also attacks on the Women's March 1 year ago. These shameful acts have become intolerable in the past few weeks, and not only women but men have also been raped. This amateur video purports to show a mob attacking a single young woman. Some men from an anti-harassment group tried to help her, one of them using a flaming gas container in desperation. The sexual assault in Tahrir Square in January, on the day Egyptians commemorated their revolution's 2-year anniversary, was far from the only such act reported. Activists say attacks during protests are to terrorize women to keep them away, and have found that more than 80% of Egyptian women have experienced sexual harassment. Our correspondent in Cairo says the ancient Egyptians considered women a source of tender goodness and fertility. They are symbols in their legends. Today, Egypt's women hope for equality, freedom and respect, and that they will not be preyed on by rapists.
محمد شيخ إبراهيم يورو نيوز القاهرة.
In this video, it is about Egypt women are being sexually harassed, that it becomes a norm for them, even though they do not want the males to touch them. Females are discouraged to participate in protests because in fear that they are exposing themselves. The impact on victims may experience psychological effects during and after their trafficking experience. They may experience post-traumatic stress, difficulty in relationships, depression, suicide, memory loss, anxiety, fear, guilt, shame, and other severe forms of mental trauma. United States policy. United States does not negotiate with terrorist groups. However, on May 31st, 2014, the government in Iraq negotiated with the U.S. for Army Sergeant Bao in exchange for 5 detained Taliban's high-ranking members. What can we do? We can educate the public about sex terrorism, provide resources from local, state, and federal level. Parents talk to young children about body safety, such as what is safe and unsafe touching. School can teach children about stranger danger and what to do if they need help. Educate parents in the community about warning signs of physical and sexual abuse. Businesses can provide jobs, internships, skills training, and other job opportunities for trafficking survivors. Here, I wanted to leave this quote: "If we start calling it sexual terrorism instead of rape, conservatives might become more sympathetic to the victims." And here are the references. Thank you and take care.